Gauranga Shata Nama, last verse, 25th. nadéyä-nagare nitäi nece re, Bhaktivinoda tä'r raìga-päy re. nadéyä-nagare, in the place of Nadéyä, nitäi, Nityänanda Prabhu, nece, while dancing jubilantly, ecstatically, re. Nityänanda Prabhu sings these names of Lord Chaitanya. Bhaktivinoda tä'r poòe. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who has composed this, tä'r raìga-päy re. He falls down at his lotus feet, which are reddish, effulgent. Re means oh. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is jubilant. So Bhaktivinoda, so these names of Lord Gauranga are the song not just composed by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, but it is envisioned by him as it was enacted by Lord Nityänanda. So there is a tradition of glorification which we benefit from by our participation. That means, in this world often cults are formed. So some cricket player or some movie star becomes very famous, and then there's a fan club for that. But that movie star is temporary, and the movie star's glory is temporary, and similarly the fan club also doesn't last for very long. Depending on how charismatic a particular movie star is, the fan club may last for a longer or a shorter time. Now, nadéyä-nagare nitäi nece re. So here, when we participate in chanting the holy names of the Lord and relishing the holy names, there is a long tradition of not just ordinary people but great saints chanting and relishing these holy names, and it is this tradition that we join. Joining this tradition is our supreme fortune, because we are going to get the highest happiness. And not only do we get the highest happiness by connecting with Krishna, but just as Shukamukad Amrita Dravya Samyutam, that just as the glories of the Lord, when they are spoken by Shukadeva Goswami, they become sweeter, as it is said in the tradition that an apple that is touched by a parrot's beak becomes sweeter. Now, similarly, when we get the glories of the Lord through the tradition, then they become more accessible and relishable for us. How? Because although Krishna's glories are eternal and they are eternally attractive, every generation has its own ethos. And although we want to transcend everything material, including the generation we belong to and its ethos, still we do belong to that generation, and we cannot come out of it. We cannot transcend it immediately. So when we hear Krishna's glories as have been assimilated by those in our generation, and then they are spoken by them, then they are much more relishable for us, because we can connect with them easily. Because those devotees who are in our generation usually think in a way similar to us, because often they have been educated in a similar background. Often they come from the same socio-cultural, socio-economic, socio-intellectual ethos, and thus in the language, in the thought systems that we have been habituated to, when Krishna's glories are presented, then they become intelligible for us, and they become relishable for us. And as we understand and relish them more and more, then then Krishna enters more and more into our heart. We embrace Krishna more and more in our heart, and by this we gradually but steadily, gradually and surely start rising our consciousness above whatever ethos we were born and brought up in, and thus we transcend. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur was the first acharya in our tradition who interacted with modernity, and his contribution in making Gaudiya Vaishnavism accessible to all of us is seminal. Srila Prabhupada called Bhaktivinoda Thakur as the founder of the modern day Krishna consciousness movement, and the way he looked at the tradition, he looked at the modern world, and he presented in his vision how the tradition could become intelligible and relishable for the modern mind, that is path breaking. And along with his many intellectual contributions through his books, he has also given us eminently relishable musical, poetic, devotional contributions. And the Gauranga Shata Nama is one such contribution. By relishing what the tradition has offered us, we can take our heart closer to Krishna, and thus we can relish more and more the tradition's most precious gift, that is the gift of remembrance of Krishna through various means, through the holy name, through the scripture, through the association of devotees, through service to Krishna, through deity worship. And in that way we can absorb ourselves in Krishna's glories. Tadviragayan mahamritamagna chittaha. As Prahlad Maharaj says that, in singing your glories I am completely absorbed. Tadviragayan mahamritamagna chittaha. And therefore I have no I have no worry about how to get out of material existence, because absorption in your glories already means that I am out of material existence for all practical purposes, for all essential purposes. So we can also strive to absorb ourselves in remembrance of Krishna and in the glorification of Krishna, by seeking inspiration of the tradition that has preceded us and the tradition that lives around us. Thank you.